y'all, welcome back to Harmon Homestead. It's been a while this week. Me and my husband have been under the weather a little bit. We had some sinus trouble and all that, but hey, we're back. We're rocking and rolling. The gardens. Okay, first of all, it has not rained here in probably 9 days. The corn is looking rough. It's tasseling right now and it's dry. Rain is not expected until next Wednesday, so I am very concerned about this, but fingers are crossed. Raised beds are doing great. I've got squash, zucchini, cayenne pepper, and green beans. We've been picking all those, so very busy trying to maintain everything that's going on, so we got a lot going on. In my spare time this week, I didn't really want to get outside if I didn't have to because of the heat, and I just didn't feel up to par, so I tried to keep moving and stay going inside. And I dug out some old fabric that I had, and the fabric I had other uses for, and I said I'm gonna make like a little hamper for my husband's old torn socks that I'm using to clean with. I said I'm gonna put those separate from the rest of his socks, that way I'll know. So I made a little bag and I sewed it by hand, and I said, hey, it's been a long time, but I can sew. I can sew by hand. Now, I am no professional, but I can thread a needle and sew. So I was pretty proud with that. So then I started each afternoon, I'd work on little quilt blocks from scrap pieces of fabric that I had. And in fact, I got one right here, you can see. Just like a crazy quilt, everything known to man, just little scraps. And I thought that was so cute. I've been working on it each night while we've been watching TV or any kind of downtime, and I said, you know, I have missed this. I have missed this. Now, the topic today, a millennial's perspective. I am a millennial, okay? I don't think I might need to say that proudly the way things are going, I don't know. But a millennial is the term used for someone born in the late 80s, early to mid 90s. I was born in 1992. I sound archaic saying that. But I can remember the mid 90s, 95 vaguely, 96 on. And millennials kind of get a bad rap. I can see why, but the season that we all grew up in, guys, when I started doing this sewing here, that was the best time of my life. And no, it was not because I was a kid. I mean, I'm sure that added some sparkle to it, but it was really fun. It was fun. And I think all of y'all watching me, either you may be 70, you may be 20, but it seems like the last 10 years before the current 10 years is always better. People say the 50s were so great when they were in the 60s. People in the 80s would say the 70s was a lot better than, you know, it always seems that way. So, to be fair, it does seem that way, but I enjoyed it. And I'm going to tell you the season that I grew up in and things we did and why I think that it was a great time. So, if I'm called a millennial, then so be it. I am certainly not a millennial type person. I am an old soul. I mean, who's going to be hand sewing stuff, okay, at 31? Not many people, okay, for fun. When I was a little girl, and this is my perspective, my millennial perspective, but it may be different the area of the country you grew up in, or that your family was in, or that you had kids at this point in time. It could be what kind of job you had. I grew up in a blue-collar household, okay? Most of y'all know what that means. Very blue-collar. We're in rural Alabama, and it is what it is, okay? Proud of it. My daddy worked. He worked several jobs, and Mama worked, and then she stayed at home for a little while and then went right back to work. So I can't say that so many wonderful things happened because Mama was at home all the time. I don't remember Mama being home. When I turned 5, she went back to work. So that, 5 or 6. So it was, quick, as soon as I could remember anything. When I was little, weekends, let's just take weekends for example. Okay, Daddy worked Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Christmas, Easter, it don't matter, okay? He worked all of the above. He worked every shift known to man. He was gone all the time. I mean, he worked, okay? But I do remember weekends. When weekends rolled around, Saturday, they were both busy, always busy. And I want you to compare what I'm saying about the 90s. I'm talking about the 90s mainly to today, okay? Daddy had a shop, and Daddy would go out to his shop, and Daddy would be piddling, pilfering, or tinkering, 1 to 3, okay? That's what Daddy did. There was things that seemed like, looking back on it, that was promoted stuff like that back then. You had Tim Allen with Home Improvement, one of the biggest shows. You know, it was cool. It was cool to be a tool man and have a tool belt. They promoted that stuff. You had Bob Vila. You had things like that really revved up home improvement, literally, and doing things around the house. Saturdays was for cutting grass if Dad was off, and he always was doing something, physically doing something. My mother was always doing something. Work, not work, whatever. My mother was always into arts and crafts. Now, your family may not have been that way, but it seemed like so much was promoted in the 90s to do stuff by hand, tactile. She loved Carol Duvall. I don't know if y'all remember that show or not. An arts and crafts show when Martha Stewart first come on. I remember, now this is getting into the 2000s, Donna Dewberry. If any of y'all can remember that, painting a rose. I mean, I remember my mother trying to sit and paint roses for hours getting those books. There were so many people that promoted painting, quilting. My mother quilted, like she sure enough quilted, okay? It wasn't sitting here sewing scraps together. She quilted, she painted, she crocheted. I don't think she knitted much, but I mean, she might have, I don't know. But there was always some kind of physical activity by hand by her and Daddy growing up. I don't see a lot of that with people today. I don't. In fact, a lot of my family will tell me, now not my parents, but they'll say, don't you ever take a break? No, this is what I enjoy. I want to go out and do something physically, you know, or keep my hands busy. I don't want to sit here. They collected stuff. I remember when the first U.S. coins come out, and everybody wanted those quarters, the U.S. quarters, with each state on it. They had collected those. Everybody collected stuff back then, it seemed like. They physically collected stuff. I collected porcelain dolls. And the childhood stuff that I remember, everything was tactile. Y'all can probably think back of that too. I don't know of anything from childhood that was not tactile. I remember getting a boom box. That was a big thing, and having CDs. I remember touching those CDs, and the boom box, you would press down on the top. You'd press down, it'd open up, and you put your CD in. Now that was high tech for back then. Oh gosh, now I'm a girl, but there was so much stuff. Fingernail polish. I think that they called them bonbons, little itty bitty little fingernail polishes you get for nothing. And it would be like a multi-pack, or you could get a bunch of them, and you paint your nails. It seems like today everybody's getting their nails done. I know they always have, but since it come on the market, but it seems like you don't see people wanting to do stuff at home like that anymore. Lip gloss, all the different types of lip gloss, the roll-up lip glosses, or chapstick, that's what I'm thinking of. You wanted to do stuff on your own at home. Milky pens. I don't know if y'all remember those. You get some black paper and you'd write on it with those milky gel pens. That was one of my favorite things. It was tactile. Erasers. Pencils would have these huge erasers that would be designed like a snowman in the winter, a Santa Claus, a reindeer, a pumpkin for Halloween, these huge colored pencils. Or it would have like a colored pattern on the outside. Lisa Frank was huge. That was a huge pattern thing. And everybody wanted those stickers and the color and the crafts. And where is it now? I know a lot of this stuff is still going on, but and you had to have your pens and your paper and all because you kept a diary. You literally wrote out a diary. That was huge. And you had a little El Cheapo lock on it. And that would be your diary. It wasn't called a journal, it was a diary. Again, I guess everybody's diary now is what they're putting on the internet for people to see. I guess this is my diary right now to you. Things have changed a lot. Oh Lord. What else from my childhood? Stuffed animals. Oh, me. Beanie Babies. Beanie Babies come on the market when I was a little girl, and that was the thing. Barbies. I don't hear anybody talking about Barbies anymore. No one even cares. Barbie dolls. But Beanie Babies, Barbie dolls, and really you wanted to see how many stuffed animals you could collect. I mean, and it may be different household to household, but these are some huge things in the 90s. Gosh, y'all, this is bringing back a lot of memories. There was a lot of, there was a lot of kid-oriented stuff. It seems like now there's not. I mean, it's just more, everything is technology right now. That's it. Where's all the arts and the crafts and finger paint? Who has went out and got their kid or grandkid finger paint? Finger paint. I had the best time. I can smell it right now. Finger paint. Just some paper and red, green, blue, and yellow finger paint. That was it in these little jars. It looked like specimen jars. The best time. Watercolors. Everything was artistic. It was arts and crafts. And I mean, it was the best time ever. I remember the colors, teal and burgundy. I remember my mother wanting to put up a wallpaper border in the house. There was always doing something. The first time I ever saw my mother can, which she's not a canner, it was in the 90s. That was cool. They were trying to revive like homemaker. That was instead of homesteader is the term now. Back then it was homemaker. And that's what was so popular. Everybody did something around the house continuously, it seemed like, or it did. The parents of the kids that I went to school with, I remember like sleepovers and all that, or stay the night parties. It seemed like everybody was kind of on the same playing field. And every one of us had to play a musical instrument. There wasn't none of this technology, no. You had to play a musical instrument. And I've told you this before, I took piano lessons against my will, but I did. And if you didn't, that was just not right. Like, you physically had to play an instrument. That was the thing in our town anyways. But you had to do something. It wasn't even so much sports related as it is now, but really I don't know. I don't know. It's even the sports have kind of faded away. Now, that's just my memories of growing up as a millennial. Now, I remember when the first technology come on the scene. I remember when I got a Game Boy. I remember I remember a PlayStation. I remember stuff like that, but I don't have those memories as doing things by hand. I remember my mother, I think, wanted to make soap or candles or something. Everything was always tactile. Now, on Sunday afternoon, and my mother would do crafts every night of the week. She would cook, she'd do crafts, she would do something continuously. Saturday was for work around the house. That was Daddy, again, pilfering, piddling, or tinkering, okay, if he was home. Friday night, you go and get a gas station pizza. And you would rent a movie. And then you got all these shows on cable. And we had an alien-looking saucer in the backyard the size of this table to pick up these channels. But Daddy would watch Westerns on Sunday afternoon. That's what Daddy did. If it wasn't that, it was NASCAR. It would be one of the two. And a bag of popcorn. How simple life is that? Laid up on the couch asleep with a sack of popcorn in his lap. I mean, and Daddy was almost my age now when that happened. So that's, he was a little older than me, but still, look at the difference. What do y'all do on Sunday afternoon? I don't know what these people do. I'll say millennials. I'm one of them. I can tell you what I do. I'm outside. I'm working in the garden. I'm working in the yard. I'm feeding my animals. I'm doing something tactile. I'm sewing. I'm crocheting. I'm doing something continuously. I do think technology is great, but I think it has went too far. I think people are addicted to it. They can't get away from it. There's people I know that's have lived through World War II, and they are literally on Facebook continuously. I mean, really, and they're just sitting there mesmerized. You know, I remember my mother doing like crocheting. I remember her painting. I remember her physically doing stuff. I don't know, these kids today, they'll look up, most millennials my age have kids, they'll look up, and what are they going to remember? They're going to remember mom and dad doing this. Swipe, scroll, click, tap, click, screenshot. I mean, really, that's what a lot of it involves. There's no doing stuff. Something as simple as scrapbooking. Scrapbooking was huge on the scene. Scrapbooking was the thing. Everybody wanted to do that. That was at the very kind of tail end of it, and then technology took over. The big beast of technology. I think it's great if you use it right, but I think it can be overused. So this is my millennial perspective, and you know, I'm not talking about socioeconomically, I'm not talking about anything like that, but as far as the 90s, I wish we could go back. And from the memories that I remember, if everybody was running around doing stuff with their hands or having DIY or weekend warrior stuff, you know, I mean, it was fun. It was fun. It was very simple, very, very simple. I don't remember my mother ever cooking anything that required 45 ingredients. I don't remember my great-grandmother ever doing that. I don't remember it having to be, you know, they had certain tried and true recipes they just stuck to, and that's what we ate. And for entertainment, they did arts and crafts, or they did projects. They built stuff. They refurbished stuff, furniture. Now that was all into the 2000s. Mama got into wanting to redo furniture or whatever, and I think that's still kind of popular now. That would be probably the only thing that I can see now that people want to do, but I don't know otherwise. Y'all, it is a struggle for me to sit here and talk to you this long. Like, I have to be up doing something. Times have changed. Times have changed. I wish we could go back to the 90s. I would hate to relive everything I've been through at this point, see the future. You know, I just keep going forward, I guess. But I wish times could go back to how it was and enjoyable, you know. I don't know your memories of the 90s. It may be totally different than mine. But as a millennial, throw that term on me just because of the age bracket I was born in. First of all, I shouldn't even have been born in that bracket. My music taste and everything, I would have been born in the 50s, grown up in the 60s, somewhere along in there. It would have been a tumultuous time, but I'm an old soul, so a lot of this is just, you know, take it for what it's worth. But I'm really concerned for people in this day and age, and I'm not concerned for the millennials because they know no different, or they might know the 90s. They know a little bit different, but the people that you've seen your whole life do stuff by pen and paper, by hand, that's done this stuff, and now they're older, and they're doing click, click, swipe, just all day long. That's what bothers me. That has lived through multiple wars and multiple tragedies and multiple accomplishments in their whole life, and then at the very finish point, I mean, I can't. Y'all, that's terrible. That's terrible. So that's what bothers me. This millennial perspective. Now the kids coming up younger than me, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're into. I know nothing about the people younger than me. All I've ever known was people older than me. So I would have nothing in common with them whatsoever. We could probably find common ground, but I don't even know anybody younger than me, really. So I don't know. I got a pretty good idea of things that they do or their hobbies, but it's scary. You think of the 1990s, all the way up until Y2K. It seemed like at Y2K, it really started going just... The technology took over as beast. And it couldn't be just, fun and games anymore. It started infiltrating everybody's aspect of life. Whether it's taking over them sitting in a recliner at home and they can't get off the phone, or either, and I'm saying playing on a phone, or either it's at the workplace, or it's in the car, or it's in the self-checkout counter you're in. It has infiltrated every aspect. Every aspect. It's good in a lot of ways. I just wish it could go back. I wish I could be in Mayberry. That's me. That's this millennial's perspective. I wish I could be in Mayberry walking down the street with Andy and Barney. That's me. I'm just that type. Or in an apartment with Lucy and Ricky. That's me. I'm not into all this. So my perspective is, I think technology is king and of the time that we're in. And I wish it could go back a whole lot simpler. There's a lot of things you can do to change your household if you notice it's taking over. There's a lot of things you can do around your kids, your grandkids. You may be younger than me. I don't know if you are. I doubt it. But if you are, do stuff by hand. Play board games. Play board games. Me and my husband has had many a fun time sitting down playing Scrabble, of all things. And you would think that, it's so competitive that we just, neither one of us could lose. So that's some of the best times we've had playing Scrabble. Really, just sitting down with an old board game. He's an old soul too. So think about it. Let me know your perspective. I don't know if there's any millennials watching me or not, but this is probably, a very different video. I just wanted to get it out there. It was kind of on my mind and everything that I enjoyed about the 90s. And like I said, I wish we could go back. Really do. All right, we'll see you next time on Harmon Homestead.